3rd, 2003, and we're in the home of Harold Smith at, what's your address?
708 North 2nd.
In Oldsburg, Kansas. And you were born, what date?
February the 14th, 25. Valentine.
Really?
Yeah.
And where were you born?
Wetmore, Kansas.
That's up my neighborhood.
Oh, I thought Jack said you were up around there.
Yeah, that's right.
Went to school. Lived in
February the 14th, what year?
25.
So you were out of high school. And
44, I graduated.
And you
Went in the service in April. Or was it June?
You said April 20th, 1944. Must have been
Might
June.
have been June 20th, 1944.
Must have been June.
It was the 20th, I know that. Probably was, because I was out of school.
You tried to enlist in the Navy?
Yeah, I tried to let my folks, of course we was on farm, and I could have got deferred, but then when I said I wanted to join the Navy, my mother put up such a fuss. So I stayed in school, and then when I got out of school, I had to sign up for the draft, and so that took care of things. I got drafted and asked for the Navy and got it.
Where did you?
Went to Kansas City for a couple of days, and went to Great Lakes, Camp Porter in the Great Lakes for basic training. Went from there down to Gulfport, Mississippi to gunnery school. Went back up to Brooklyn Navy Yard. They had an OGU there. Thousands, I think 5,000 sailors in there. And we were all in the armed guard. And there was a gun crew on a merchant ship. That's what we did in the North Atlantic.
You said OCU. Is that?
OGU, outgoing unit.
Outgoing unit.
In Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn. That was a large unit, was it there?
It was. They had, I understand, about 5,000 people there.
Right.
Coming and going all the time. You get on a ship and go to wherever. Like we went to, I think Antwerp, Belgium, the first time. The second time was Marseille, France. And the third time was, Barranquilla, South America. Barranquilla, Colombia, South America.
This was on merchant ships?
It was on merchant ships.
So you were going back and forth?
Yeah.
And
3 ships.
What kind of gun did you have?
Our biggest gun was a 3-inch 38. It was mounted on a it was what
turret?
Turret, yeah. But it was movable. You could spun around. And then I was on the stern on the bow. They had a 3-inch. And then they had 2 40s midship, and then 620 millimeter.
Where did you train on those guns?
In Gulfport, Mississippi.
For how long?
A month, probably.
And how did you train? You had...
We did a lot on land, and then they put us on a ship, and we went to sea every day. We'd get on there and fire.
At
nothing.
Something in the air? Or?
Yeah. Sometimes they had aircraft pulling to sleep. That's what we fired at all the time.
That was you were trying to protect the merchant ship from air attack.
Yes, and submarines.
And what did you have against submarines?
The German submarines sunk a lot of merchant ships during the war. In fact, I understand that armed guard lost more sailors than any other branch of the service. That's what Doc Maskell tells me.
Mainly because of ships being sunk
Yeah.
by German submarines.
Yes. Submarines in the air. I didn't know that at the time, I've been told that.
And your ships usually went in caravans or
Yeah, they were in convoy.
convoys and
They zigzagged all the time.
zigzag.
Constant. One time we lost a rudder and we went, they opened it, let us out of the convoy, and we floated for a day or so until they got that. Then we were at the mercy of the waves because there was no way of steering that boat. It was kind of interesting for a couple of days. But then we caught up and got back in convoy and finished the voyage. But we was on standby 24 hours a day, as long as we were out there by ourselves. We were in our gun turrets, whatever. And then by that time we went to Antwerp, Belgium. The Germans just started sending those buzz bombs. The V2 hadn't started yet, but the old buzz bombs were going about. They started about a half hour before sunset, and about every 15 minutes there'd be a buzz bomb. And that was one of our targets. I mean, we shot a lot of those, shot at them. And we learned real soon not to shoot at them on the way over. Coming in, you waited till they got by and then shot at them. Because if you hit them over here, they're liable to explode in your backyard. Big deal. I'll tell you, that's about sucks it. And then we were in Antwerp, Belgium. Then we were in Marseille, France, for so after D-Day, we went in Marseille, France. And they had to clear the channel to get us in there. But we carried ammunition all 3 times we were down there. We never got hit.
These buzz bombs had a distinctive sound to them.
Yeah, they buzzed, definitely.
Kind of.
Never heard anything like it, beginning or afterwards. There's one out at Hutchinson in their museum out there, a regular first old buzz bomb. You can see those.
They weren't very high up.
And they weren't high up, and they didn't go very fast. But then they come up with the V2, and you couldn't see that. That was a jet, or that was a rocket. They're both rockets, but the first buzz bomb was pretty slow. Yeah.
Did you have depth charges on your?
No, but we had tin cans, destroyer escorts.
They would attack.
They were active. You see, we had shifts of. Let me think. If we wasn't in a general quarters, which was a on guard thing, which is alert, we were on duty. We pulled 4 hours watch and 8 hours off. 4 hours on, 8 off. And then when they had an alert if they'd seen a submarine or aircraft, then we went 4 and 4, 4 on, 4 off. And they're eating and sleeping and washing clothes is all done on that. And that was one thing. We'd always get up, so we had 30 minutes before we went on watch to wear the Polaroid glasses, get your eyes accustomed to the dark, because it was dark up there. And when the seas were so bad that the ocean was coming up over the bow, we'd secure back to the bridge, and our watch was there. We had bow watch and stern watch. Then a half hour before sunset, half hour before sunrise, everybody was on guard. Everybody was, because that was the time the submarines were most active. Because you couldn't see them just before. That was a hard time to see a periscope. Just about sunrise and sunset. So Everybody was at their gun station.
What kind of cargo were you hauling?
We was hauling ammunition, I think all 3 times, as I recall. Took ammunition up to Antwerp, Belgium, and Marseille, France. I don't know if I remember what the 3rd trip was either, because the war was about over on that.
These were merchant marine ships,
Yes,
but the Navy provided
the Navy furnished the gun crews on all
gun
of
crews on all
it. Armed guard.
of them. Uh-huh. Did you have any real battles with an airplane, or you had to
In
fire
Antwerp, Belgium, there was a reconnaissance plane that came over and we was alerted and fired at it, but it was so high it wasn't a problem. But we at least fired at it,
Mm-hmm.
and then we fired at buzz bombs too. But as far as I
Well,
remember, we don't.
You were in the English Channel at that time, or?
No, that was a river up in. There was a river that went up to Antwerp, Belgium, which is right on the
Yeah.
German border. And they had an ammo depot there, and they unloaded it right there in Antwerp. And went up by Holland, and we passed through close to Holland and up to Antwerp.
That was one of the ports that the
That was
Allies
one of the
wanted,
ports,
wasn't
yeah.
it?
That was
And
a
so you
depot.
were hauling stuff in there.
Yeah, a lot of traffic in there. A lot of traffic in and out of Antwerp, and same with Marseille. But we had to wait there when we got there because the channel wasn't open from D-Day. They were moving the ships that were sunk. I don't know who sunk them. I suppose they're American. I don't know, the Germans might have sunk them in the channel just to keep the Americans out of there, I'm not sure. At that time I wasn't too concerned. I was young and it didn't make a whole lot of difference. Might be worried about it now, but at that time it wasn't a big deal.
So
Okay, what can we tell you? That's about it.
the buzz bombs, you said you kind of waited till they got past and then
Yeah,
you shot at it
because
behind
you
them?
found out real quick when you started, if they were coming across this way, you fired at them that way, and if you hit one, it would more than likely land right down in the backyard and go off. So it was just as easy to let them go over and then fire at them. Then when they went down, well, that was somebody else's problem.
In the channel, probably.
It would have been in Germany, probably. I don't know how that was. We was awful close to Germany and all that, I think. I should have looked that up.
Did you have any, were you able to get off your ship into
When
Holland?
yeah,
or-
when we got to port, yeah, we was able to go ashore. Wasn't much to go ashore for, but we get to a bar.
You didn't have to help unload the ship?
No,
Or load
it was
it?
all done by longshoremen.
Uh-huh.
No. We just had the day off once we got to port. Half the crew would go ashore and half the crew would stay on board.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you have any other shore experiences other than Holland there?
Well, we went ashore both in Holland. In Holland, in Antwerp, I should say, it wasn't Holland, it was Antwerp, Belgium. But they had nightclubs all over the place, but there was no heat, and the lighting was all done with kerosene or something. But the girls would put on a girly show, a dance, and they'd run back and put their coats on as soon as they got through with their dance. No, absolutely no heat, cold. But we usually found something like that, for somebody to tell us where to go.
What was your worst time on ship? Either because
Oh.
of bad high seas or?
High seas
Or
was probably the
guns.
worst thing. That was worse than the Germans. That North Atlantic in the wintertime is bad. In fact, one night the boat high centered over a wave, you know. They were going into the wave, and the boat went up, and the wave hit it about here, and it came down. It sounded like a cannon going off. I thought the boat had broken too. Everybody come out of bed. But when we lived in the stern, and we had our chow hall was up midships, and when the seas were rough, and it mostly were in the wintertime, you had to time your run from the stern to the mess hall when the ship was going up, because when it go down, the waves would just wash over the deck like that, and that got kind of tricky in the dark. You'd have to, as the boat went up and the water drained off, you'd run through the water. I mean, probably you'd have little water still on the deck as it ran off. And then you'd have to be up there by the time it went down again, and the waves washed over the deck. Yeah, that's right.
When you came back to the States, how much turnaround was there?
Oh,
Getting another load?
You got off the boat and they put you on another one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
It was just, maybe 4 or 5 days. You'd be in New York.
How long was it that you were on ship like that as a gunner?
Oh,
A year, was it? Or?
all the time except, I was spent my whole Navy time except boot camp and gunnery school. Yeah, when I was never shore duty. Just, and a lot of, it'd take a month to get to Europe. The way they zigzagged, some days you didn't even make any headway at all. You were further away from where you're going. You lose because of the seas being so tough. And then they zigged and zagged. That was a constant thing. Go this way and that way. And no lights at night. You had to watch for those ships neighbor to you, because there wasn't a light that you could go by. If you didn't see them, you might run into them, which we never had a problem. I've seen them come awful close, so where you could see them in the middle of the night.
How many men were gunners on a ship like that?
Okay,
you have in your...
They had, everybody was either, let's see, I think there were 2 coxswains, which were junior boatswains, and then there was, I think there were 4 gunners mates, and then the rest were seamen. It was about 20 people aboard in the Navy.
The Merchant Marine cooks cooked for you. You didn't have your own.
They had, the Merchant Marine furnished the cooks and everything. I used to go down in the hold, down the motor, the engine room. That was interesting. Especially when they lost that rudder, they couldn't steer it. They worked on that thing. They climbed over the side and they worked to the bottom and got that thing fixed somewhere in there. Just the people on board. Because it just
They'd have to work outside in the sea, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they had to work outside, over the side, on ropes. And then there was some work done inside. I'm not sure what went on, but they got it going.
A couple days?
No, probably a good day, because it was the daytime when it went out, and they got it going sometime during the night. Sometime during the night.
Well, you probably didn't actually lose the rudder.
No, it just wouldn't operate.
The
They had no control over it.
steering mechanism broke or something like that. So was the ocean really high?
It wasn't that bad at that time, thank heavens. There was no control on the boat. It just, usually they drive into the waves, but this just went by.
These weren't so-called victory ships, were they?
Yeah, they were merchant, they were, what are they, what were, you see, they come out with a Victory after, when I first went in there, they were, what the heck did they call the old, and the Victory ships were the new ones.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a lot nicer than the boat I served on, so, but our boat was probably quite a few years old. But it worked good.
How did you keep?
Liberty ships.
Yeah.
There was Liberty and a Victory.
I see. How'd you keep those guns operable out there in the?
You kept them,
Sea
that was an
war.
everyday situation. They were greased and covered with canvas, and then when you, like that 6-inch gun, that was a 6-inch bore on that, and that was, had a plug in the end. If you ever used it, you had to take the plug out first, but that kept most of the sea out. But it was a everyday thing, keeping that rust off, because they rusted anything that wasn't oil. But we fired them every day or two. If we didn't fire them on for some reason, we practiced. So they got well kept care of. But that was a everyday thing, taking care of those guns, because it was salt water every day.
How did they teach you to shoot at a moving target in the air?
Oh, most of that was done by movie screen.
Oh,
They had simulators, they called them,
simulators.
and they had the gun, and then they had the big screen. And the aircraft would fly along, and you'd fire at it, and it showed those tracers going clear out around. It was just like the real thing, but it was all done inside. And then of course we had that for a week or two or whatever it was, and then every day we'd go out on the ship and fire. I mean, real everything we needed, everything we ever had to do was taken care of down at Gulfport.
Did you have sights that you adjusted for
Yeah.
height of the target?
Yeah, there was
speed.
on that, in that 3-inch 38, there was the sight setter, and the one that took care of the up and down, this was all had names, and I don't recall what they were now. The one that ran side by side, they sat on its seat, because the gun turned, the whole turret turned, and then they had the hot shellman, and he caught the hot shells as they came out. They were 36 inches, and they were hot. He had gloves up to here, and if they were serious, I mean, if they were shooting at something, the hot shellman would throw the casing over the side. But if it was just drilling or practicing, training, we kept the shells and stored them. And then he had the guy that fired it. I don't recall what that was usually the gunner's mate that actually fired those. And the 20 millimeters had two people. They had the gunner and then the guy that tended it with the replay. They fired, they had canisters, and that canister would run through and go out, and then he'd take that off and set it down and put another one on there. And you could do about 2 of those, and then you'd have to change the barrel because it was so hot. And they had asbestos gloves. They'd turn that barrel, take it out, and they had tubes of hot water that run down there, and you set it in there. Steam would just boil off there, and put another barrel in, and run a couple through there and change it again. You had to change it because it got so hot.
Well, where were you when you heard that Hitler had?
We were at sea.
Were you?
And I can't remember. We was in the North Atlantic, in the Atlantic. But the weather was so nice. I can't recall. It must have been the summertime or something. But then everybody's so happy, and we broke out to we had records, the old phonograph records, and we got those. Well, we had our 45 sidearm and had 30-06s, and they had gunnery. They went out there and shot, threw those records up and shot at them, and had a celebration. Oh dear. Then after that, I went to San Diego to catch another ship, and I sat out there for a month. Never did go to sea. Then come home. Went to Norman, Oklahoma for discharge.
What did you do after service then?
After service, I got out and went to work for Kansas Power and Light, and as a lineman, and then in '50, went to. My dad was a firefighter. I had 2 uncles that are firefighters, and they never heard of anything. And so I went to work at Fort Riley. I had training in the Navy as a fireman in Manhattan. Jim Lilly was a volunteer fire chief, and he worked for Kansas Power and Light, and he wanted me to be a volunteer, so I signed up down there, and so I was a volunteer for several years until they started having a pay crew. But I went to Fort Riley and worked there for 30 years, from '50 to '80. Retired as captain. My name is Captain H.B. Smith, Fort Riley Fire Department, retired. Oh dear.
Well, thank you, Captain H.B. Smith.
Thank you
for your time. And
that's a pretty interesting job you got there. I hope I did all right on this. Never thought about it. I should have given it a little research. It's something you never bring up anymore. I thought about finding some pictures, but because I've had some pictures of those Liberty ships, but I don't know where they'd be.
Well, you're not the only one. Most veterans have just kind of buried it in their memory. And
you know, I never did any ribbons.
Oh.
Never, you know, I guess they got ribbons, but I never did ever receive one. I've been told I ought to send in and get those for the kids, but never did. I don't even know what kind of ribbons I got. I must have got a victory medal or something. I probably got a good behavior medal.
I'm sure you did.
Oh dear.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you for coming up. My son, John Smith, Sergeant John Smith, was stationed in Fort Hood. He was in the ADA, and I have to think what that is, Air Defense Association, whatever that is. And their tank was hit before he was running with the colonel. They was checking things out before the war started. And there was a tank, enemy tank, that was buried in the sand. All that was setting out was the turret. And I understand those prisoners were just running all over themselves trying to surrender. And they had stopped to corral some of them, and they were getting back in the tank. And that mortar that shell came through, went through the tank, and it was an air defense, and it was aircraft rockets. And it went through those rockets and never exploded. So they were on fire when they got there. And the gunner, Sergeant Billy Hawes, he was a driver sitting right in front of my son, who was tank commander. And that went right through him. There wasn't anything left of him from his belt up. And the gunner was wounded. They all three, well, one of them died, 2 of them was wounded. John lost an eye. This eye shot out, and he had shrapnel in his head. He had a broken ankle and burns. He put the fire out himself. And